Hi there. There are all sorts of reasons not to respond well to the call of God. And picking up from the reading just recently in Joshua chapter 3, verse 15, the priests are carrying the Ark of the Covenant. It says in verse 15, it was the harvest season, the Jordan was overflowing its banks. So from a human point of view, there was all sorts of reason to doubt what God had said. God has said clearly, go into the Jordan River. But they get to the edge of the Jordan River and realize it's not just a raging torrent, but it's actually overflowing its banks. So in the natural, from a human perspective, there was all sorts of reason to doubt. But as soon as the feet of the priests who were carrying the touched the water at the river's edge, the water above that point began backing up a great distance away at a town called Adam, which is now Zarethan. And the water below that point flowed onto the Dead Sea until the riverbed was dry, and then all the people crossed over near the town of Jericho. So they were called by God, they responded to God's call, they went to the edge of the river, they found that it was actually worse than they anticipated, and yet they went in anyway. So they overcame their fear, they overcame their anxiety, they overcame their common sense that said this is not really a very smart thing to do. Naturally, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but God has called me. God has called us as the priests. God has called us as the spiritual leaders of Israel. We're going to respond to that call. We're going to go for what God has said. And it's possible because God is in it. See, when God is in something, what seems so silly to the natural way of thinking, if God is in it, is proved to be possible. It's proved to be actually the way of blessing. And so often we miss the blessing that God has for us because we take one look at the situation and say, that doesn't seem to tally, doesn't seem to connect with what God has said. He said, do this, and I'm doing it, and it looks even worse. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been praying and praying about a situation? The more you pray, the worse it seems to get. I remember that happening to us over the years. Our experience of walking with God has had some ups and some downs. And certain situations we prayed into, we agonized over, we cried out before God. We were literally in tears before God. And the more we prayed, the more we cried out, the worse things seemed to get. And naturally we would then think, well, praying is making it worse, let's stop praying. And yet the reality is what God has called us to is relationship with Him. So He's called us, we respond, it's not easy, and we keep going. And what God is saying to you today is when you come up against a problem, when you respond to my call in your life, don't stop. Keep on going. Don't stop. Just keep on keeping on. And you will find that my resource available to you in this hour is all that you need. You respond, that's great. You come up against a difficulty, and then you say it's too difficult. And God says, no, my grace is sufficient for you.